Good example would be water. Okay?
Že je to v nejakej súvislosti, ale keď poviete stĺp, nemusí to vyslovene znamenať stĺp.
Here's a cup
Alebo voda. Je to
of water.
s vodou.
Oh, not much in there.
No, už tam veľa není.
So you say water, water, water. Will you quench your thirst?
Takže keď
Will you
budete
get
hovoriť voda,
Somebody
voda,
might bring you water.
Tak zahasí
If you're
vám to
lucky.
smet. Možno vám niekto donesie
If
vodu.
you are lucky.
Ak máte to
but
šťastie.
it's not the same. You could change the name. Now what's the name water in
A
Slovak?
nie je to isté. Aký je názov? Voda.
Huh?
Voda.
Almost the same, huh?
Voda. To je názov vody v slovenčine.
Voda?
Voda.
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 Wozda. I don't think I'll ever get it. Anyway, every language of the world, a different word, huh?
V každom jazyku je to iné slovo.
That doesn't mean it's different. It's still water. Same
Ale
thing.
ona nie je iná, stále je to tá istá voda.
It's not the word that's the water. It's the water that's the water. Or
Nie je to slovo, čo je voda.
Wozda that's the water, or whatever.
Ale tá voda bola
whatever it is.
vodou, kým tam ešte bola.
Oh, we've got some more here. Look, a big cup. Is that yours?
No, it's yours.
Oh, let's give it.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, it's a giant cup.
Obrovský pohár.
Okay. Water. Whereas when we say Krishna,
Ale keď povieme Krišna,
it's understood that Krishna, spiritually, materially, we would have hard time to digest, but spiritually, the name Krishna is non-different than Krishna.
materiálne by sme to nepochopili, ale z duchovného hľadiska Krišna
Binatvan nama
sa
namino.
nelíši od svojho mena.
The named and the name are the same.
Meno a pomenované je to isté.
So it's a matter of whether we're associating with Krishna in this form of the name, or whether we're somewhere else.
Takže sa združujeme s touto formou mena alebo s niečím iným.
How much we're absorbing our limbs, our minds, our whole being in the association of the holy name.
Ako sa združujeme so svojimi údami alebo so svojou myslou s Krišnom.
It's so nice playing a harmonium. Your limbs, everything's focused or embellishing. It's, accompanying the chanting of the holy name.
Keď hráte na harmónium, tak vaše ruky pekne harmonicky.
And the more we're absorbed, this is a form of, you could say, surrender to Krishna.
A čím viac spievame, tým viac sa odovzdávame
And the
Krišnovi.
more Krishna will reciprocate.
A tým viac Krišna bude reciprokovať.
Yatamam papajate tam stataiva bhajamyam. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly.
Ako sa mi odovzdávajú, tak ich odmeňujem.
So I can see almost everyone was really putting their hearts and souls, focusing on the sound of the name and repeating the name.
Vidím, že každý z vás tu dal svoje srdce a dušu, aby opakoval sväté mená.
Calling Krishna.
A volal Krišnu.
So let us just chant a little bit longer,
Tak poďme spievať trošku viac.
and then we'll see what happens.
A potom
Is there a
uvidíme, čo sa
time
stane.
frame this evening?
Máme nejaký časový rámec dnes večer?
Any time frame?
Nejaký časový rámec, program?
I don't know if our host has time to think about that.
Neviem, či
I think
náš
the time
hostiteľ má
frame
čas
will
na
be
to sa zamyslieť.
when he's finished cooking.
Asi čas bude vtedy, keď dokončí varenie.
But we don't know when that will be.
A nevieme, kedy to bude.
Okay, and if someone can give me some. It's now, I believe, 10 after 6, is that correct?
Teraz je 6:10.
Oh, some idea. We started a little, well, you started early. We were a little late. Sorry about that.
Trošku sme neskôr, prepáčte za to, tak my sme chceli vedieť, dokedy môžeme.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti namine Namo Vishnuvaraya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swami Niti Namah. Nice to be enthusiastic. It's nice to be enthusiastic.
Je pekné byť entuziastický.
It's also nice to be patient.
A tiež pekné byť trpezlivý.
Go together.
Tak spoločne.
So when we chant, try to hear.
Keď spievame, snažte sa to počuť.
Secret of spiritual life is this hearing and chanting from the right source in the right way.
Tajomstvo duchovného života je počuť a nasledovať, spievať v duchovnom živote.
As Prabhupada accredited his success to the fact that he heard nicely from his Guru Maharaj.
Prabhupada hovoril, že ak chcete dosiahnuť úspech, tak načúvajte od duchovného učiteľa.
And he repeated what he heard.
A opakujte to, čo vám povedal.
Nitai, Nitai, be a good boy. Be quiet now. Whoop. Good boy. Namaste, Sarasvate Devi, Gauravani Pracharine, Devasesha Sunyavani, Paschachade Sattarine, Sarasvate Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Devasesha Sunyavani, Paschachade Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Kirtan. Sankirtan. Well, it's funny because you mentioned that we don't feel tired. Well, of course that may happen in our preliminary stage.
Je to vtipné, pretože máme pocit, že nie sme unavení a môže to byť v našom začiatočníckom štádiu.
But it certainly happens when we do another type of kirtan.
Ale určite sa to stane, keď budeme robiť iný druh kirtanu.
In fact, Srila Prabhupada one time said,
V skutočnosti Srila
we
Prabhupada
have a
povedal,
perfect remedy for, they call it when you can't sleep?
máme skvelý
Insomnia.
Máme skvelý liek na nespavosť.
What do we have?
Čo máme?
Japa maybe, but Prabhupada particularly referred to something else.
Možno je japa, ale Srila Prabhupada povedal niečo iné.
Srimad Bhagavatam class.
Hodina Srimad Bhagavatam.
If you know what that is.
Ak viete, čo to je?
You start reading, maybe in class. Or I wasn't there, but one devotee from Germany told me that one time during the Bhagavatam class somewhere in Germany, maybe in Schloss Rettershof in the 70s.
Nebol som tam, ale jeden nemecký oddaný mi hovoril, že počas prednášky Srimad Bhagavatamu v Nemecku.
And that was the temple near Frankfurt in
To bol
Germany.
chrám blízko Frankfurtu.
And the devotee told me that one day they were the pujari and they were doing the offering, Bhoga offering, morning breakfast offering.
Oddaný mi hovoril, že pujari, ktorý robil ráno offering,
They would bring the plate, they had to bring the plate through the temple room, just like here, you bring it here, place it on the altar.
tak ten plate s obetinami cez celú miestnosť, cez chrámovku.
And they came in, they saw everybody was fast asleep,
A videli, že všetci
in the
tvrdo
class,
spali.
including the speaker.
Na lekcii. Aj spolu s tým, čo prednášal.
It was a very absorbing class.
Bola to veľmi absorbujúca hodina.
He didn't say one word wrong.
Nepovedal ani jedno zlé slovo.
Anyway, that was an extreme example, but
To bol extrémny prípad.
And we would have, in London, we would have one devotee sitting there with, in English we call it a water pistol. You know what that is?
A v jednej lekcii sme mali oddaného, ktorý tam sedel s vodnou
shoot of water
pištolou.
comes out.
A takto striekal vodu na
Looking
oddaný.
around. At least it kept him awake.
Aspoň to ho zabavilo, že bol z hore, nezaspal.
And it's funny, in Kirtan, it's Sankirtan, as you said. Generally speaking, I have seen devotees fall asleep during Sankirtan.
A uvidel som aj oddaných, ktorí zaspali počas Sankirtanu.
Especially, not so much these days, but in the earlier years, you could say, of the movement in the West,
Teraz moc nie, ale v tých začiatkoch na západe
devotees were very much, let's say, very busy.
my sme boli veľmi zamestnaní.
And, you know, literally, you could say they had justification, being tired.
Dá sa povedať, že mali opodstatnenie, prečo
Literally, I
boli
mean, I
unavení.
know two examples of devotees who fell asleep in the air during the kirtan.
Poznám dvoch oddaných, ktorí zaspali vo
They
vzduchu v
jumped up
kirtane.
and fell asleep up and crashed
Vyskočili
down.
hore, zaspali a
It's
spadli na
hard to
zem.
imagine, isn't it?
Je ťažké si
So
to
quick.
predstaviť, že? Tak to ich vyplo.
It's hard to imagine.
Je to ťažké si to predstaviť.
In all kinds of things. Many times I used to fall asleep over prasadam.
Už viackrát sa mi stalo, že som zaspal počas prasádam.
Literally, I mean, fall right asleep on the prasadam.
Nad prasádam som zaspal.
Yeah. We're not on that platform of transcendence where there's not even a thought of sleep, there's no time to think of these things.
Nie sme na tej úrovni transcendencie, že ani nepomyslíme na spánok.
We're not on that platform, but still to a large extent, always engaged in service.
Nie sme na tom stupni, ale vždy sa snažíme byť zamestnaní v službe.
And Valmiki Prabhu was giving a nice example from his own Guru Maharaj earlier on, His Holiness Danavir Maharaj.
Valmiki Prabhu dal pekný príklad od jeho duchovného učiteľa, dnes, čo sme sa rozprávali.
I'll tell you a funny story.
A poviem vám vtipný príbeh.
When Danavir Maharaj first came to the United Kingdom in 1976,
Keď Danavir Maharaj prvýkrát prišiel do chrámu v Anglicku v
he'd just established the
1976,
Bhakta program in Los Angeles.
tak sme založili Bhakta program v Los
And
Angeles.
it's funny because the leader of the temple there, Jai Tirtha his name was, he was made the GBC in England in 1976.
Jai Tirtha, ktorý tam bol, tak bol temple
So he came from LA to London. And he brought Danavir Goswami, or Danavir Vanaprastha, Vanachari at that time, with him.
A mal so sebou Brahmachariho Danavir
And
Goswami.
Tulsi Das, who had also been a president of LA Temple, came to London too. So,
Aj tu asi Dasi tam bola.
and they established the Bhakta program in London.
A oni založili Bhakta program.
What's
v
the
Londýne.
Bhakta program?
Čo je Bhakta program?
can explain what
Kto to
that
vie?
is?
Kto to vie vysvetliť, čo to je?
What's the Bhakta program?
Čo je Bhakta program?
You have that here in Slovakia?
Máte to tu na Slovensku?
I think we have something like that in Ekachakra.
Niečo také máte na
Something.
Ekachakre?
It's a basically introductory course or introductory program for new boys and girls, young men and women, it doesn't matter what age, but those who are coming new, just to give them like a full kind of like understanding of the, as much as you can anyway, the basic Krishna conscious life.
Je to základný úvodný program pre dievčatá a chlapcov, ktoré prichádzajú do hnutia, pre také základné pochopenie.
And living a monastic lifestyle.
Aby vedeli, čo je to mníšsky život.
Mm-hmm. So he came and I was his first assistant on that program.
On prišiel a ja som bol jeho prvý asistent v tomto programe.
And it's the only time in my life, you could say, I had this experience, not of the Bhakti program, but the experience I'm going to tell you about.
A bolo to prvýkrát v živote, čo som mal tento zážitok, o ktorom vám poviem.
After about 3 months,
Asi po 3 mesiacoch,
I couldn't take it anymore.
tak už som to nemohol ďalej vydržať.
And I remember one night, it was so funny. Well, it wasn't funny, it was serious, but...
A jednu noc si pamätám, bolo to vtipné. A vlastne to nebolo vtipné, bolo to vážne.
I didn't know what to do,
Nevedel som, čo mám robiť.
Danny was so kind of like, every single second of the day was like, down to the second almost.
Každú jednu sekundu dňa bola zaneprázdnená až na poslednú
I can't
sekundu.
take this anymore.
Tak už som to nemohol zvládať ďalej.
In the middle of the night, I packed my bag, which was about this big,
A o polnoci som si zbalil kufor, ktorý bol asi
and I
takto malý.
left out the back door of the temple,
A zadným vchodom templu som odišiel.
around the lake, so that no one
Okolo
could see
jazera,
me,
aby ma nikto
over
nevidel.
the fence,
Cez plot,
across the wheat field,
cez pole,
onto the road,
na cestu.
and I walked and walked in the middle of the night.
A kráčal som v noci.
And then I slept in a forest somewhere.
Potom som sa niekde v lese vyspal.
Next day I hitchhiked.
Ďalší deň
I
som
didn't know where
stopoval.
to, I just hitchhiked. And
Netušil som kam, proste som len
I
stopoval.
thought, I can't carry on, I've got to get out of here, I've got to get out of this, it's too much for me.
Už som to nezvládal, že musím sa dostať preč, musím ísť odtiaľto preč.
And that was I wasn't quite ready for that. But
Bol som na to celkom pripravený.
so amazing, fully engaged, and not a second to waste.
Je úžasné byť plne zamestnaný, ani jednu sekundu nepremarniť.
And within, I think one day, I eventuated, I went to my family home. They weren't there, I just stayed there.
Nakoniec som išiel do domov mojich rodičov. Oni tam
Maybe
neboli,
2 days
ja som tam
later,
ostala.
Danavir was on the phone to me. He found out where I was somehow.
A o 2 dní Dana mi volal, nejakým spôsobom zistil, kde som.
And he was so sweet.
A bol taký sladký.
And what's say, so kind of like, just so hearty, full of heart. He was opening his heart, opening his
otváral
heart.
svoje srdce.
And we talked, and sure enough, we discussed something, and I came straight back.
Rozprávali sme sa, diskutovali sme o niečom a potom som sa hneď vrátil.
This is a Vaishnava.
Toto je Vaishnava.
Yeah, Vaishnava. He's not just interested in, so to speak, what they're doing, but interested in the soul, the person.
Nezaujíma ho len to, že kto čo robí, ale zaujíma ho tá duša,
This
tá
is how
osoba.
pure devotees feel.
Toto je, ako sa čistí oddaní cítia.
They feel so sad.
Keď ste tak
See that
smutní,
so many of, you could say, Krishna's servants
keď
have
vidíte,
strayed
že
away,
toľko Krišnových služobníkov
and we're absorbed in selfish pursuits in this world.
je absorbovaných vo sebeckých
We're not even happy,
hnutkách v tomto
even though,
svete.
even though we're doing what we want, trying to do what we want to do, we're still not happy.
Aj keď sa snažíme robiť to, čo chceme robiť, aj tak nie sme šťastní.
Pure devotees are so sad to see that
Čistí oddaní sú tak smutní, keď to
and
vidia.
they're sad also to see that, let's say that Krishna's servants they could be bringing pleasure to Krishna.
A sú smutní aj z toho, že oni by mohli potešiť Krišnu.
Krishna's happiness could be increased.
A Krišnové šťastie by mohlo byť zvýšené.
This, of course, is the mood of Radharani.
To je samozrejme nálada
She always wants to
Radharani,
increase Krishna's pleasure.
ktorá sa stále snaží zvýšiť Krišnové potešenie.
All the devotees, those who are genuine devotees, that's their motive, to increase Krishna's pleasure.
A to je o motívu čistých oddaných, že chcú potešiť Krišnu.
Which means to increase Radha's pleasure, because when Radha sees Krishna pleased, she's pleased.
A to poteší Radharani, pretože keď
Her
ona vidí, že
pleasure is
Krišna je
Krishna's
potešený,
pleasure.
tak ona je potešená.
So this is preaching, just to increase
je
the pleasure
kázanie.
of Krishna. By
Zvýšiť
connecting.
potešenie Krišnu.
Valmiki said
Že
earlier
budeme
on,
spojení.
feeling the connection with Krishna.
Valmiki povedal predtým, že sa cíti byť spojený
This is
s
what
Krišnou.
Sankirtan is.
Toto je Sankirtan.
It's like a whirlwind, like catching more and more and swirling round, swirling back to Godhead,
Že stále viac a viac chytíme, až sa dostaneme bližšie
To
k
take
Bohu.
everybody back to Godhead.
A každého zoberieme
Would be
späť
nice.
k Bohu.
Would be nice.
To by bolo veľmi
You
pekné.
just have to get on that caravan or that bandwagon or whatever you call it
Ale musíme nasadnúť
and stay on there.
na ten ven.
But even if you jump off,
Aj keď odskočíte
the
preč,
devotees are so kind, they pull you back in again.
tak oddaní sú tak milostiví, že vás zase
Something
vtiahnu naspäť.
I remember one time in Heathrow Airport, London,
Pamätám sa raz v letisku v Londýne,
sitting there
tak tam sme sedeli
with Srila Prabhupada,
so Šilom Prabhupádom
and Prabhupada's flight was delayed.
a Prabhupádov let bol
So
zmeškal.
Prabhupada, his servants, whoever was organizing, we took Prabhupada up onto what's called the mezzanine floor. You know this word, mezzanine?
Tak
You
začala
have
Prabhupada.
one floor, another floor. In between this is like half a floor. You know, it's not like a full floor.
Išli sme na medziposchodie.
Like a mezzanine floor here. This roof is not high enough for a mezzanine floor. But if the ceiling is higher, you might have a little roof in between.
Keď je vyšší strop, tak môžete mať ešte jedno poschodie medzi tým.
Level, not so much a roof, a level. A level between.
Také poschodie.
Mezzanine floor, they call it in England. So we sat there and you could see down, there was like a glass kind of like.
Takže tam sme sedeli a mohli ste vidieť dolu, tam bolo.
We're looking down on this was the departure hall, you know, where people queue up to check in.
A videli sme, že odkiaľ ľudia odchádzali do letov.
And watching thousands and thousands of people running left and right.
A videli sme tisíce a tisíce
Where
ľudí,
are
ktorí
they going?
kráčali doprava a doľava.
Where are they going?
Kam idú?
Coming and going, but where are they?
Prichádzali, odchádzali.
Have you ever looked at ants? You know, a big group of ants running this way and that way.
Veľa mravcov, ktorí behajú sem a tam.
They're going somewhere, but you know what does it mean?
Niekam idú, ale čo to v skutočnosti znamená?
People catching a plane to fly somewhere for business or fun or something.
By chytili lietadlo, aby išli niekam na
Prabhupada was looking down. He was looking down onto
Prabhupada sa pozeral dole.
Departure hall, and you could practically speaking, Prabhupada was like transparent at this moment.
Prakticky ste mohli vidieť, že Prabhupada bol transparentný.
You could almost feel his heart.
A mohli ste cítiť jeho srdce.
It was like a heart of intense compassion.
Bolo to srdce
intenzívnej tears were rolling down his
súcitu.
face.
A slzy mu tiekli dole tvárou.
At least maybe others felt differently, but that's how I felt.
Možno iní sa cítili
I
inak,
just
ale ja
felt
som to
Prabhupada was
cítil
so
takto.
sad to see so many souls wasting their human life
Keď
away.
videl toľko duší, ako strácajú svoj život.
No different than ants, really.
Running
here, running there, trying to get some sugar, bring it back home.
Aby sa snažili získať cukor a doniesli ho naspäť domov.
Prabhupada was so sad to see the fallen conditions of this world.
Prabhupada bol tak smutný, keď videl upadlú
Is it Viraha Astaka? Viraha Astaka, is that what that poem Prabhupada wrote? Is it called Viraha Astaka or something like that?
Ako sa volá báseň, ktorú napísal Šrila
And
Prabhupada?
another one, Vrindavan Bhajans.
Jeden z vrindavanských
And
bhajanov.
where he's again and again citing, glorifying his spiritual master, how his spiritual master is so sad to see the suffering of the conditioned souls.
Tak v nej oslavuje svojho duchovného učiteľa, ktorý je tak smutný, keď vidí
Vaishnav
podmienené
has
duše.
no personal, you could say, worry, anxiety, misery, nothing.
Vaishnava nemá žiadnu osobnú
only suffering.
obavu alebo utrpenie.
The only suffering of real Vaishnava is paradukkha dukkhi.
Jediné utrpenie čistého oddaného je
The suffering of others.
utrpenie iných.
That doesn't mean the suffering of others just because they're starving or they're in some war zone or whatever it may be.
A nie je to len utrpenie iných, pretože hľadujú alebo sú vo vojnovej zóne.
But everyone is starving.
Ale každý hľaduje.
Everyone's in a war zone.
Každý je vo vojnovej zóne.
Everyone's in danger.
Každý je v nebezpečí.
Unless we're connected to Krishna.
Keď nie je spojený s Krišnom.
So this is, as Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says, the only lacking in this world is lacking Krishna consciousness.
Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj povedal, že jediný nedostatok v tomto svete je nedostatok Krišnu.
And that is the greatest service that a living entity can really engage in this world, is to assist or just cooperate even with the will of the Lord, the will of the devotees in trying to awaken Krishna consciousness.
A to je tá najväčšia služba, keď niekto asistuje v tom, že v niekom sa prebudí Krišna vedomie.
And if we want the
Ale aj
mercy,
spolupracujeme na tom.
how do we
Keď chceme milosť,
how do we connect with Krishna?
ako sa spojíme s Krišnom?
Let's look at it another way.
Pozrieme sa na to z iného uhlu pohľadu.
Is it possible just to go up to Krishna and say, "Hey, here I am"?
Je možné ísť hore ku Krišnovi a povedať, hej,
How
tu
are you
som.
doing, Krishna?
Ako sa máš, Krišna?
You okay?
Si v poriadku?
Can you do like that?
Spravili by ste to tak?
You'd have to be pretty intimate to be able to do that.
To by ste museli byť na dôvernej úrovni, aby
Not
ste to
quite
mohli
on that
urobiť.
level.
Nie sme na tej
How
úrovni.
would you, if you want to really, let's say, have the association of Krishna, how is it possible?
Keď chcete spoločnosť s Krišnou, ako je to možné?
Any suggestions?
Nejaké návrhy? Cez spoločnosť jeho oddaných?
Of his?
Devotees.
Okay, go back then. Let's go back. We're on the right track, but there's a few stations on the track.
Ste na dobrej stope, ale sú tam ešte nejaké štádia predtým.
Pardon?
Chanting Bhagavata.
Okay, that's the, you could say the process of moving along the track.
To je proces na tej ceste.
Over here.
Že ťa niekto odporúči,
Someone will recommend you to Krishna.
Yeah, who's the one who recommends us?
Áno, kto nás odporúči?
Well, it depends what, I guess you could say, what your mood is, but ultimately who's the topmost recommender?
Záleží od vašej nálady, ale kto je ten najvyšší odporúčateľ?
Radharani, of course.
Šrimati Radharani.
Okay. And to please Radharani,
A aby sme potešili Radharani.
let's look at it another way. Say, if you want to please Krishna,
Alebo sa na to pozrieme inak. Keď chcete potešiť Krišnu,
please Radharani. Huh?
tak
How do
potešte
you please Radharani?
Ako potešíte Radharani? Can you please Krishna?
celý Radharani. Potešíme duchovného učiteľa?
To please the spiritual master.
Yeah, certainly on our practical sense of the term, we are at that point of performing Sankirtan. That will certainly please Radharani.
Áno, v našom praktickom poňatí.
In terms of the
určite
personal
potešíte Radharani.
connection, the personal kind of like chain of recommendation or whatever you want to call it.
Osobná taká reťaz odporúčaní.
Yes, it's all on the chain, and it's
Áno, všetko je to na tej ceste.
when we say spiritual master at our level, and when we say spiritual master at the level of, let's say Goloka Vrindavan or something, it's also there, but it's not termed in the same way.
Že či už duchovný učiteľ na tomto leveli,
Who do we
duchovný
follow
učiteľ
in our line
na Goloke Vrindavane.
of devotion?
Koho nasledujeme na ceste?
Yeah, but who does he follow?
Šila Prabhupada. Koho on nasleduje?
Specifically, huh? Who says what we say? Rupa Goswami,
Rupa Goswami.
a very intimate associate
Veľmi dôverný spoločník.
of Radharani's most intimate associate.
Od Radharani.
Lalita Devi. Rupa Goswami is
spoločník je Lalita Devi, čo je Rupa Goswami.
chief manjari, practically speaking, there,
So
to
najvyššia
assist in the
manjari.
pastime. So he goes through this line. By pleasing Rupa, you please Lalita, you please Radharani, you please Krishna. And how do we please Rupa?
Potešíte Rupu, potešíte
Well, let's go a little
Lalitu,
different. She's
potešíte
manjari. How do we
potešíte
please,
Krishnu.
in this world, how are we going to, it's already been said actually, how do we please, they say, the intimate associates, the gopis, the manjaris, who then recommend you to Radha, who recommends you to Krishna? How do we please them?
Už to bolo povedané. Ako potešíme manžáris, ktoré potom potešia Radharani a potešia Krišnu? Ako ich potešíme?
If someone already indicated it without,
Už to niekto naznačil.
the Lord appears, Radha and Krishna appear in this world in their most merciful form, right?
Radha a Krišna sa objavujú v tomto svete v najmilostivejšej podobe.
Which form is that?
Aká forma to je?
Huh? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
appears in this world to give that opportunity.
Zjavuje sa v tomto
What
svete.
qualification do we have?
Akú kvalifikáciu máme?
Do we have any qualification to
Máme
receive
nejakú
that mercy?
kvalifikáciu, aby sme dosiahli tú milosť?
I don't embarrass anyone, but what were you doing 25 years ago?
Nechcem nikoho...
Were you sitting in the groves of
Čo ste
Bratislava
robili pred 25 rokmi?
crying out, "Oh Krishna, where are you? Where are you?"
Boli ste v Bratislave a volili ste na Krišnu, kde si, kde si?
You might have been calling out something else in the groves of Bratislava, but not for
Možno ste volali
Krishna.
na niečo iné v Bratislave.
Yeah, I turn the clock. This year, for me, is 50 years ago. Srila Prabhupada gave me initiation just a couple of months ago, a month or two ago, 50 years ago.
Pred 50 rokmi mi Šrila Prabhupada dal
I turn
zasvetenie.
the clock back. What is this? What month are we in now? August?
A keď pretočím hodiny,
August 51 years ago, I first
Pred 51
came
rokmi
in contact with Hare Krishna movement.
prvýkrát prišiel do kontaktu s vedomím
And
Krishna.
Before that,
A predtým,
what were we doing?
čo sme robili?
I don't know. I can't speak for all of you.
Neviem, nemôžem hovoriť za vás všetkých.
Before Prabhupada came to us,
Predtým, než za nami prišiel
before
Prabhupada.
Lord Chaitanya's mercy coming through the parampara came to us.
Predtým, než Chaitanya
What were we doing?
milosť cez paramparu prišla k nám. Čo sme robili?
You look like a saint. You look like you've been
Vyzeráš ako
pure.
svetec.
You had a pure life. You look
Mal
like
si
it.
čistý život, vyzeráš na to.
I mean, did you ever read a news? You probably never even read a newspaper or anything like
Nikdy
that.
nečítal noviny ani nič také.
I'm sure you never. You don't even know what these things are. You probably know.
Možno ani nevieš, čo tie veci sú.
Some people may have been taking intoxicants.
Možno niektorí ľudia brali intoxikáciu.
You know what intoxications are?
Viete, čo sú intoxikanty?
Huh? Medicine?
Medicína?
That's a funny story, isn't it?
To je vtipný príbeh,
When
že?
Prabhupada was in San Francisco in the early days of ISKCON,
Keď Prabhupada bol v San Francisku na začiatku ISKCONu,
one of Prabhupada's disciples, I think Upendra, I think it was,
jeden z Prabhupádových oddaných
was
asi
put in prison
on bol
because of a
uväznený
drug offense.
kvôli tomu, že bral drogy.
And, previous to becoming a devotee, so to speak.
Predtým, než sa stal oddaný.
And then they got caught and they put him in prison. And Prabhupada said, what's happening? Why are you putting him in prison? Something like that. He said, because I was selling drugs, Srila Prabhupada.
A Srila Prabhupada sa ho pýtal, že prečo ťa uväznili.
And Prabhupada said, I also was a drug salesman.
A on povedal, a ja som predával drogy.
The devotees were bewildered,
Oddaní boli z toho zmetení.
Swamiji, selling drugs? But he's been telling us we shouldn't take drugs.
Tak nám povedal, že
Now
ich
he's
nemáme
telling us
brať.
he was also a drug
A
salesman.
teraz nám hovorí, že ich predával.
They were and then they found out what Prabhupada meant was, I don't know what you call it here, but they call it
Zistili, čo Prabhupada
drugstore in America? Drugstore, right?
sa
Medicine shops, pharmacy. They're called drugstores.
Lekárne sa volajú obchody s drogami v doslovnom preklade.
In many places you see this drugstore.
Na veľa miestach
Well,
vidíte
Prabhupada was
drugstore.
referring to pharmaceutical drugs, not
Takže Prabhupada sa odkazoval na farmaceutické lieky.
the intoxication form of drugs.
A nie na intoxikačnú
But
formu.
most of the devotees, there were devotees who joined this movement, even prominent devotees who joined this movement, who were, you know what the word junkie is?
A veľa oddaných, ktorí sa
Heroin addict or
tak boli
whatever, some kind of
závislí
heavy
na
drugs.
heroíne alebo na niečom takom.
And they, somehow or another, they joined the Krishna movement and
Nejakým
became
spôsobom sa pridali do Krishna
great
vedomia
devotees,
a sú z nich skvelí oddaní.
servants of Prabhupada.
Služobníci Prabhupádu.
From a practical point of view, we don't have that much eligibility.
Z praktického zmyslu my nemáme takú...
Some, of course, do, and now many young Indian people are taking up Krishna consciousness like anything.
Niektorí indickí ľudia berú k sebe Krishna vedomie.
Many of them are coming from very, let's say, very pious, religious, very pure backgrounds.
Mnohí pochádzajú z veľmi čistých,
Cultured
zbožných pozadí, kultivovaných.
But, yourselves, probably, I don't know what you're all coming from, but I know
Ale vy neviem, odkiaľ pochádzate.
my family heritage or lineage, let's say, family lineage was very aristocratic.
Rodná línia mojej rodiny bola veľmi aristokratická.
Aristocratic butchers.
Aristokratickí mesiari.
My father broke the chain. He changed his
Môj
occupation.
otec prišiel s reťazami, to bol
Grandfather,
reťaz.
butchers before him like that.
Ale starý otec a tak ďalej boli
And we were
všetko mesiari.
encouraged as youth to work in the slaughterhouse. As youth, we were encouraged to work in
Keď
the
sme boli
slaughterhouse.
deti a mladiství, tak
The slaughterhouses
sme mali
nearby.
pracovať v mesiarstve.
Farming area, pig farming area.
Bola to farma na prasatá.
And we were encouraged to, basically, it was the norm, isn't it? When you reach a certain age, you start smoking.
A boli sme podporovaní v tom, aby sme od určitého veku fajčili.
A little bit later you start drinking.
A trochu neskôr, aby sme začali piť alkohol.
And so many other things.
A veľa ďalších vecí.
I mean, meat eating was the law.
Jedenie mesa bolo v podstate zákonom.
There was no question about not eating meat.
Nebolo ani otázkou toho, že by sme nejedli meso.
It was normal.
Je to normálne.
It was like
Bolo to normálne.
only weird people and sick people were vegetarians.
Iba divní ľudia alebo chorí ľudia boli vegetariáni.
It was kind of like almost like uncivilized to be a vegetarian.
Bolo skoro necivilizované byť vegetariánom.
I remember one program we went to when I first joined the temple, early 72. We went on this program in one hall.
Keď som sa pridal do Krišnavedomia v 72.
Young
išli sme na
Christians
program
Association, Young Christians.
do takej haly, kde boli mladí kresťania.
We went there for this program.
A išli sme tam na program.
And I was only been a few weeks, I think, living in the temple.
Žil som v chráme iba pár týždňov.
So I had no experience of preaching as such.
Nemal som vôbec žiadnu
My
skúsenosť s
first
kázaním.
public program I went on.
To bol prvý môj program, na ktorý som išiel.
It was quite an eye-opening experience.
A bol to oči otvárajúci zážitok.
One devotee gave the class,
Jeden oddaný dal prednášku.
and he was, obviously he was older than me, in
A
terms of
samozrejme
in the
bol,
temple.
starší, oddaný.
He'd been all 3 months he'd been in the temple.
Bol až celé 3 mesiace v chráme.
He was one of the older devotees.
Takže bol starší oddaný.
He spoke for about 10 minutes and ran out of words.
Asi 10 minút
Couldn't think
hovoril
of
a potom
anything
mu
else to
došli slova.
say.
Nevedel,
So
čo viac povedať.
another devotee who'd been in all 6 months in the temple took over.
Ďalší oddaný bol asi 6 mesiacov v
Just got
programe.
initiated by post by Prabhupada, I think.
Akurát bol
He
zasvetený
took
som
over,
Prabhupádom.
and after 10 minutes, after what happened, this devotee asked, after 10 minutes, he said, "Are there any questions?"
A po 10 minútach sa spýtal, sú
So
nejaké
these were
otázky.
young Christian youth, our
Boli
age.
tam mladí kresťania v našom veku.
And this Christian said, usual thing, he said, in the Bible it says, Jesus is the truth, the way, and the light. No one should come to me but through the Son. Through Jesus, this very
V
famous
Biblii
thing.
Ježiš Kristus povedal, že
What are you going to say
synom
about
Boha.
that?
A keď chcete ísť k Bohu, tak môžete ísť iba cezo mňa.
Challenging question.
Bola to vyzývavá otázka, čo k tomu môžete povedať.
The devotee who kind of started to fluster a little bit, didn't really know how to answer it.
Jeden oddaný
So this
nevedel,
older devotee had been
ako
6 months in the movement, thereabouts,
Takže ten starší
took
oddaný,
over.
ktorý bol 6 mesiacov v hnutí, tak
and
to
answered.
prevzal.
It was such a powerful answer he gave. I've never
A
heard
dal takú veľmi
anything
silnú
so,
odpoveď.
so convincing in my life.
Bolo to veľmi presvedčujúce v
I
mojom
was
živote.
astonished,
Bol
especially
som,
from my background. I came from, as I say, pig farming area.
bol som z toho ohromený,
It was
keďže ja som
very relevant
pochádzala z
answer he
prasacieho.
He said to this young man who was at the back, he said, "Do you eat meat?"
Spýtal sa ho, ješ meso?
That was his reply. The boy looked around. What's that got to do with it,
A ten chlapec sa
What's that
poobzeroval
got to
okolo
do with my
seba.
question?
A čo to má spoločné s mojou
Looked
otázkou?
around, everyone looked at each other, thinking,
Každý sa začal obzerať
it's like,
na seba.
you ask,
okolo
like if
seba.
you ask someone, what's the nearby store here? What's it called? The supermarket?
Ako keby ste sa spýtali, čo je najbližší supermarket?
Tesco? Okay.
Tesco?
Can you tell me the way to Tesco's?
Ako keby ste sa spýtali, môžete mi
The
povedať...
time is 8 o'clock.
A odpoveď bola,
What's that got
čas je
to do
10
with it?
hodín. Čo to vlastne
I didn't
spoločné?
ask the time. I asked the way to Tesco's.
Čo to vlastne spoločné? Ja som sa spýtal na cestu do Teska.
And we're not on the spiritual plane here.
Sme tu na duchovnom...
The mountain is 2,000 meters high.
Je to ble? Kopec má
Has nothing
1000
to
metrov.
do. Absolutely irrelevant, So to them it was like totally irrelevant. What are you asking that for? If I eat
Prečo
meat
sa
or
to
not?
pýtaš?
I asked
Či je
them.
meso alebo nie?
Because it's like a norm. Of course I eat meat, he said.
Je to ako normálne.
Of course I
Samozrejme,
do.
že jem meso.
And
Samozrejme, že áno.
everyone said, great, we all eat meat. So then he really, really put him straight.
Tak potom ho skutočne narovnal.
You eat meat? Yes.
Ješ meso?
You're as good as a pig! He shouted at him.
Si dobrý, tak dobrý ako prasa.
Perfect answer, right?
Skvelá odpoveď, že?
Perfect. I thought, this is really, I could never have thought of a better answer if I tried.
Nikdy by som nevymyslel lepšiu odpoveď, ani keby som sa snažil.
And within about 30 seconds, there was nobody left in the program.
Za 30 sekúnd nikto nebol na programe.
Everybody walked out.
Všetci odišli.
I thought, this is a really strange style of preaching. I couldn't, because it wasn't usually like that, I found out afterwards. But
Bolo to veľmi silné, ale zvyčajne to tak nebolo, ako som neskôr zistil.
anyway, it was quite an eye-opener, that program. And it was also a mouth-watering program as well, because all the prashadam was left for us.
Bol to aj taký program,
we had a
že
great
prasadám
time
zostal nám.
consuming all the prashadam there.
Takže všetko sme to zjedli.
That's another story, I won't tell it.
To je ale iný príbeh, ktorý vám nepoviem.
But we didn't know anything. I mean, and that devotee, by the way, he was a drunkard before he came to the temple.
A ten oddaný bol predtým opilec.
And after about 1 or 2 years later, he went back to drinking again.
1 alebo 2 roky neskôr sa vrátil k pití.
I'll convert all the drunkards by going to the bar, drinking with them, and getting them to chant Hare Krishna.
A myslel si, že všetkých tým, že príde k opilcom a začne s nimi piť, tak ich obráti na Krishnu, že s nimi bude spievať. Ale nebol veľmi na leveli pána Nityananda.
We are fallen. We're fallen. We're coming from very fallen backgrounds. And causeless mercy that Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, to get Lord Chaitanya's mercy, we have to get Nityananda's mercy.
Bezpríčinná milosť, ktorú nám dal Srila Prabhupada. Keď chcete milosť pána Chaitanya, musíte dostať milosť pána Nityananda.
Mercy comes through the representatives of Nitya.
A tá milosť pochádza z tých, čo reprezentujú Nitya.
Kindly distribute Krishna consciousness, even though we don't want it or don't even know about it. They causelessly distribute it wherever, everywhere, anywhere they can.
Takže milostivo rozdávajte.
This is Srila Prabhupada's divine mercy, causeless mercy on us.
Srila Prabhupadová.
And it was 100 years ago, this year, that Prabhupada received that instruction.
Pred 100 rokmi tento rok Srila Prabhupada dostal pokyn.
Preach this message of Mahaprabhu all over the world.
Misiu Mahaprabhu
Specifically then in English, but obviously in other languages.
Špecificky v angličtine, ale aj v iných jazykoch.
And then have the devotees even more merciful in one sense than
Oddaní sú ešte viac milostiví v určitom zmysle.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They've gone everywhere, preaching to the most fallen. Lord Chaitanya delivered Jagaya Madai.
Pán Chaitanya oslobodil Jagaya
Madai. Nityananda, mercy delivered Jagai Madai.
Nityanandová milosť oslobodila Jagaya Madaya.
Mostly not. Mostly persons who are a little cultured.
Ale väčšinou ľudia, ktorí majú trochu kultúru.
Far more than we can imagine.
Sorry?
Far more than we can imagine.
Oveľa viac, ako my si vieme predstaviť.
Culture we don't even know about.
Kultúra, ktoré vôbec nevieme.
And but Srila Prabhupada went into pretty much the, you could say, in one sense, the most degraded place.
Srila Prabhupada išiel do najpokleslejšieho miesta.
When Prabhupada was about to leave India,
keď Prabhupada mal odísť z Indie,
Samati Maharaji, who provided, she was a lady owning a big steamship company.
Samati Maharaji, ktorá bola pani, ktorá vlastnila párne lode.
And she said, Swamiji, how can you, they will not be able to hear your message.
Ona povedala, Swamiji, oni nebudú schopní vypočuť vašu správu.
They all eat meat.
Všetci jedia mäso.
They take intoxicants.
Berú intoxikanty.
The sex life is just, any type of sex practically goes.
Ich sexuálny život je, že berú každý sexuálny život.
Gamble, all sorts of sinful activities. That's all they do over there, she said.
Aj hazardujú, to je to, čo tam robia.
Even if they're so-called religious, that's still they do these things.
Aj keď sú takzvané zbožní, aj
how
tak
will they
robia
listen
tieto
to
veci.
this message?
Ako budú počúvať túto správu?
Prabhupada was determined. Why? Because he received the instruction.
A Prabhupada povedal,
Nityananda.
pretože obdržal
Preach to the
inštrukciu.
fallen, Patita Pavana. Preach to the fallen.
Kázať pokleslým.
And if we look, and my favorite bhajan, I think we sang it in Eka Chakra, didn't we?
Môj obľúbený bačan sme spievali na Eka čakre.
Markine Bhagavata Dharma.
Markine Bhagavata Dharma.
When you read that, you can
Keď si to prečítate,
understand what mercy is.
tak pochopíte, čo je
What
milosť.
causeless mercy means.
Čo je bezpríčinná milosť.
And where hope for everyone lies. Where is that hope for everyone?
Kde je nádej pre všetkých?
That hope lies simply in the good fortune of receiving the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord.
A dúfame, že budeme mať to dobré šťastie, že obdržíme milosť od čistého
There's no
daného.
technique.
Nie je žiadna
There's not
technika.
karma.
Žiadna karma.
It's not a technique.
Žiadna technika.
It's not, chance. Exactly.
Nie je to čentovanie.
It's the good fortune of receiving that mercy of a pure devotee.
Je to milosť čistého daného.
So when we consider where we were 52 years ago, or 51 or 2 or
Tak
whatever
keď si
it is,
zamyslím, kde som bol pred 51 alebo 52 rokmi,
Prabhupada says this is the miracle.
tak toto je ten zázrak.
Sometimes people think, miracles, what's a miracle?
Čo je zázrak?
They want to see a miracle,
Chcete vidieť zázrak?
some magic.
Nejakú mágiu?
What would be a miracle? I mean, the
Čo by
word
bol
is used
zázrak?
in many different ways, but in terms of showing a miracle, what would people...
To slovo sa používa v viacerých významoch, ale ako by sa dalo ukázať
Show me
nejaký
one of your
zázrak.
miracles, Swamiji.
Ukážte mi nejaký zázrak, Swamiji.
What do they expect?
Čo očakávali?
Gold.
Zlato?
God.
Boh?
Ashes.
Popol?
Tears coming out of the picture.
Alebo slzy, ktoré idú z obrázka?
A mango.
Mango?
Walking on water.
Chodenie po vode?
Miracles.
Zázraky?
People are impressed. Huh?
Ľudia sú...
Sometimes the pure
ohromení.
devotees do utilize these, what do we say, powers.
Niekedy čistí oddaní využívajú tieto schopnosti.
They do sometimes when people's faith is so shallow.
Niekedy to robia, keď ľudia sú takí povrchní.
But that's not the real miracle.
Ale nie je to skutočný zázrak.
What did Prabhupada say?
Čo povedal Prabhupád?
Do you want miracles? I show you my miracles.
Chcete vidieť zázrak? Ukážem vám môj
What did
zázrak.
he do?
Čo spravil?
Show his devotees.
Yes.
Ukázal
Said,
svojich
here are my
oddaných.
miracles.
To sú moje
They're
zázraky.
not mine, but these are the miracles.
Nie sú to moje, ale to sú
I'm just
zázraky.
an instrument to which
Yes,
this
ma'am.
miraculous mercy is coming.
Instrument
And
a
here's the result.
úžasná milosť ide a tu je
These
ten
young men and
výsledok.
women, couple of years ago, they were all, drugs and sex and meat and everything.
Títo muži a ženy pred pár rokmi
Now look,
jedli mäso,
bright-faced,
boli v sexe
Happy.
A teraz sa na nich pozrite a sú šťastní a majú žiarivé
Mad.
tváre.
mad for spreading Krishna consciousness,
A sú šialení, aby rozdávali Krišna vedomie.
transformation.
To je tá transformácia.
This is the effect of the association of a pure devotee of
To
the
je
Lord.
efekt združovania sa s čistým oddaným.
And we have, because it's good fortune, but we do have to take the opportunity. We have some choice there to accept or not to accept.
Je to milosť, ale my musíme prijať tú príležitosť. Máme voľbu, či to príjmeme alebo nie.
So those who are fortunate to accept that mercy,
Tí, ktorí sú šťastní a prijali tú správu,
receive the
milosť,
mercy of Nityananda.
tak dostanú milosť Pána Nityanandu.
On a very interesting level, I'm not sure, I can't remember, but it's described that if you want the mercy of Nityananda, how do you get the mercy of Nityananda?
Ako dostanete milosť
You
Nityanandu?
could say the mercy of the Guru, that's the fact, but that is the mercy of Nityananda.
Môžeme povedať, že milosť Guru, ale to je milosť Nityanandu.
One step closer, how to get that mercy. Pardon?
Mercy of Advaitacharya.
Whoa, you could go on and on like that, you're correct.
Ešte pokračovať tak a tak ďalej.
What
Správne
attracts
milosť,
there
odvetovať
the
všetko.
full flow of mercy? What opens that gate? You've got it, but what's going to open the gate to go up that
Ale čo vám otvorí tie dvere, aby
ladder?
ste sa mohli ísť na ten rebrík?
When we want to help others,
Yeah, and
Keď chceme pomáhať
that's
ostatným.
specifically when we preach or try to connect the jagais and madais.
Špecificky, keď sa snažíme kázať a spojiť s Krišnom
We are
Jagajou a
jagais and
Madajou.
madais. Don't think of somebody else.
My sme Jagai a Madai. Nemyslíte
Everyone's
si, že
practically a
sme niečo?
jagai and madai.
Každý je v podstate
Isn't
Jagai
it?
a Madai. Není to tak?
Really, I mean, we may not be so qualified jagais and madais, but we're
Možno nie sme
small
tak
timers
kvalifikovaní Jagajova a
compared to
Madajovia.
them.
Sme
Or
oproti
small
nim
time
malí.
Hiranyakashipus,
Malí Hiranyakashipuovia
small time Ravanus.
alebo Ravanovia.
But we've all got those, tendencies, so to speak.
Ale všetci máme takú tendenciu.
So, taking that mood of Srila Prabhupada in Markine, Bhagavata, Dharma in our lives and doing our best. We can't imitate.
Keď zoberieme tú náladu Šrila Prabhupádu v Markine Bhagavata Dharma a snažíme sa čo
somewhere or another
najlepšie, ako vieme,
to pass that mercy on to others.
akýmkoľvek spôsobom šíriť tú milosť
Don't be miserly.
ostatným.
Everyone can do something.
Každý môže
We
urobiť
can't
niečo.
imitate. As you know,
Nemôžeme imitovať.
there's one devotee in America just about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't know how many weeks
Ten
now.
nadaný v Amerike asi 3-4
But
týždne
you may
dozadu.
have heard how many books he distributed in one day.
Počuli ste, koľko kníh rozdal za jeden deň?
How many of Prabhupada's books did he distribute? Can you imagine?
Koľko
In one
Prabhupádových
day,
kníh
in public,
distribuoval na verejnosti
shopping mall.
v nákupnom centre
You know
za
how many
jeden deň?
books he himself did in one day?
On sám, za koľko kníh rozdal za jeden
Distributed,
deň?
sold, not just give away.
Nielen, že to rozdal, ale predal.
Do you know how many?
Yes. 3,000.
More than 1,000.
Huh?
3,500.
Yeah, 3,500 books
3500
alone
kníh.
on one day.
Sám za jeden deň.
Can you believe that?
Dokážete to chápať?
3,000, and most of them were big books, not little ones, big ones.
A väčšina z nich boli veľké knihy.
In that shopping mall, he distributed, I think, 45 Bhagavatam sets, 18 volume sets of Bhagavatam in the shopping mall.
V tom nákupnom
Can you believe
centre rozdal 45 setov
People were
Bhagavatam.
paying. He collected $15,000 in one day on Sankirtan.
A ľudia za moc za to platili. Nazbieral $15,000
If that's
za
not
ten jeden
empowered,
deň.
I don't know what is.
Ak to nie je splnomocnenie, tak neviem, čo je.
It's impossible.
To je nemožné.
It's impossible.
Je to nemožné.
I mean, it literally, isn't it? It's impossible to conceive how you can do that.
To je nemožné aj pochopiť, ako to mohol urobiť.
Even, of course, he had someone constantly bringing books non-stop.
Samozrejme, že mal niekoho, k tomu stále prinášal knihy non-stop.
I mean, it'd take you all day to get 3,500 books there in the first place.
Celý deň trvá už len dostať tam
But to speak of
3500 kníh.
distribute them,
Čo už povedať o tom ich rozdať?
we can't imitate that.
Nemôžeme to imitovať.
But at least we can give one, what do people like to eat in Slovakia?
Ale
I
aspoň
mean,
môžeme-
vegetarian-wise.
Čo ľudia, vegetariáni,
What
radi
sweet do they
jedia na
like? You give
Slovensku?
cookies or what do you give? What
Máte
they like?
sušenky, alebo čo radi jedia?
Huh? Cookies? I mean, for distribution.
Keď rozdávate prasádam?
Cookies?
Yeah, most of the
Sušenky?
At least we can give one cookie to somebody.
Môžete dať niekomu aspoň jednu sladkosť, jednu koláčik.
You might not have your name on top of the cookie distribution list or whatever
Nemusíte
it is.
mať svoje meno na
10,000
byť
cookies in
prvý
one
na tom
day.
liste, že 10,000
But
koláčikov
even
za deň.
one cookie,
Ale
something we can
jednu
do.
sušenku. Niečo, čo môžeme
There was one
robiť.
devotee in London. I wasn't there, but the devotees told me it was before I joined.
Jeden oddaný v Londýne, ako oddaní
And
mi o tom povedali, ja som tam nebol.
Apparently he said to Prabhupada, I don't know what was going on, but anyway, he said, Srila Prabhupada, I've got no attraction for the deities.
Povedal Šrila Prabhupada, ja nemám žiadnu
I
príťažlivosť
don't get along with the
k
devotees.
božstvám
I don't even know if I believe the philosophy.
a nevychádzam s oddanými.
I don't like Sankirtan.
Neviem, či vôbec verím vo
I don't want to go for the morning program. I don't like going for the morning program.
Nechodím na rané programy.
You may wonder, what on earth is he doing there?
Tak sa môžete čudovať, čo tam asi robí.
So then why are you here?
Tak Prabhupada sa ho spýtal,
I
tak prečo si
love
tu?
the prasadam.
Milujem prasádam.
I don't want to preach. I don't like preaching. I don't like going out at all. But
Nechcem
you know what?
kázať, vôbec
He
nechcem
said,
ísť
if you
von.
like prasadam, please do one thing. Try to distribute prasadam to others.
Keď máš rád prasádam, tak prosím, urob jednu vec a snaž sa distribuovať prasádam ostatným.
This is Krishna consciousness, sharing whatever mercy we receive with others.
To je Krišna vedomie, zdieľať každú milosť, ktorú dostaneme.
May have different, we're all different. And, you know, we all got different, you know, say, attractions and repulsions.
Každý sme iní a každé máme iné veci, čo nás priťahujú a čo nás odpudzujú.
And in the beginning, that would be in relationship with particular services or particular individuals or places or whatever it is. But somehow or another, try to pass that positivity to some others also.
Na začiatku to môže byť k iným veciam alebo individuám.
Even if it's just showing a good example. A good example of behavior, even if nothing else.
Skúste aspoň byť dobrým príkladom v správaní.
It impresses people when you behave nicely.
To zaujíma ľudí, keď sa pekne
It's not
správate.
exactly spiritual, but it might be the beginning for them to start to appreciate Krishna consciousness.
Môže to byť pre nich začiatok, ako budú oceňovať Krišna
Giving
vedomie.
way to people. Giving way, you know, like
A dávať prednosť
don't
ľuďom.
block their door fronts when you're on Harinam.
Neblokujte ich dvere, keď ste na Hariname.
Don't block the footpath. Give way to people. Let them come by. Be conscious.
Buďte vedomí a
It
nechajte
means
ľudí,
a
aby
lot to
prešli
people. They
okolo.
don't care less about your philosophy.
Nemôžu sa starať menej o vašu
They
filozofiu,
judge you by the behavior more than anything else.
ale budú vás
Yes.
súdiť podľa toho, ako sa správate.
Help someone who's struggling sometimes. An old lady trying to get across the road with her back. She may not want, but, you know, show a little bit of, you know,
Pomôžte starej dáme cez prechod.
human behavior, you could say.
Skúste vyjaviť také ľudské správanie.
And although it's not, you know, I haven't got time for that. I'm too busy spreading Krishna consciousness.
A nie, že ja na to nemám čas, ja som príliš zamestnaný v šírení Krišna vedomí.
But sometimes we don't realize instead of spreading Krishna consciousness, we're putting people off Krishna consciousness.
A niekto si neuvedomí, že nielenže nezamestnávame ľudí v
Little
Krišna
things
vedomí,
like
ale
that, if you-
dávame ich
you know.
ešte ďalej.
Prabhupada defined a Vaishnav one time. How do we, what's the definition of a Vaishnav?
Prabhupada raz definoval
There are
Vaishnavu.
many
Aká je definícia
definitions.
Vaishnavu? Ich
So I'm
veľa.
not expecting you to get it necessarily, but Prabhupada described a Vaishnava as a perfect gentleman.
Prabhupada povedal, Vaishnava je perfektný gentleman.
Not just somebody who knows the philosophy or chants nicely or
Nielen kto vie filozofiu, alebo pekne spieva,
follows principles and so
alebo
on.
dodržiava princípy.
But also a perfect gentleman. That includes
Ale je to
gentlemen.
skvelý gentleman.
Ladies, gentlemen, whatever you want to call it. But
Alebo
behavior.
aj ženy, gentlemanky, ale ide o
Behavior.
správanie.
Religious principles, what does Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say when
Čo hovorí Chaitanya Mahaprabhu o
he met
zbožných
one,
princípoch?
when he was in Mathura one time, he went to the house of one Brahmana in Mathura,
V Mature vošiel do domu jedného brahmanu
and this Brahmana happened to be a disciple, Sikshu or otherwise, of Madhavendra Puri.
a tento oddaný bol žiak Madhavendra Puriho.
Madhavendra Puri was the epitome of perfect devotional service.
Madhavendra Puri bol perfektný v oddanej
So what
službe.
did Lord Chaitanya say?
A čo povedal pán Chaitanya?
Said religious principles are established by the behavior of a devotee.
Povedal, že náboženské princípy sú založené na správaní oddaného.
Madhavendra Puri is the personification
Madhavendra Puri je zosobnením
of perfect behavior.
dokonalého správania Vaishnavov.
The behavior too. So then we have, of course, we have been brought up in a culture
My sme
Which
nevyrastali v takej kultúre,
necessarily, you know, say, encourages this.
ktorá to podporuje.
But Prabhupada wanted I see one of the devotees here. What does your t-shirt say?
Vidím jedného oddaného, čo hovorí tvoje
What does it say?
tričko.
Read it. It's in
Prečítaj
English.
to.
It's in English.
Začína vovnútri.
The real revolution begins inside. Skutočná revolúcia začína vo vnútri.
Change of heart, a revolution.
Zmena v srdci, revolúcia.
So Prabhupada wanted it. He's the only real revolutionary in reality because
Prabhupada to chcelo, to je jediná
you know
revolúcia
the
v
original
skutočnosti.
meaning. I don't know, it's different in Slovak, obviously, but in English, the original meaning of revolution, or the kind of like the root meaning, is to return to your normal condition.
V angličtine slovo revolúcia v skutočnosti znamená vrátiť sa späť do nášho pôvodného stavu.
So who's doing that?
Takže kto to robí?
Nobody even knows what a normal condition is.
Nikto ani nevie, čo je náš pôvodný stav.
Only Prabhupada he's that revolutionary.
Iba Prabhupada, on je tá
He's the
revolúcia.
only revolution that has any significance.
On je jediná revolúcia, ktorý má nejaký význam.
And that revolution is a cultural one. We have to establish a cultural revolution. It's not just,
Prabhupada povedal, že musíme spraviť kultúrnu revolúciu.
And that is within the heart.
Nielen externú, ale vnútri v srdci.
Changing our heart.
Zmena v našom srdci.
And to facilitate that, Prabhupada wanted that we have, many even talk all night about that, but he wanted to also create a cultural aspect.
Že aby sme to spravili, tak musíme mať aj ten kultúrny aspekt.
A cultural aspect, not just some dancing, Bharatanatyam dance on the stage, or
A to nie je len tancovanie
that may be a part of
na
a bigger
pódiu.
society, but that's not what's meant by cultural
A to
revolution.
nemyslel kultúrnou revolúciu.
It's much deeper than that. The whole, let's say, connection with Krishna
Spojenie s Krišnom,
through our work,
cez našu
organizing
prácu,
society, Varnashram, all these things are
organizovanú spoločnosť
under that
Varnashramu.
umbrella. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. I love to sing that song, but nobody has it with them, do they?
Chcel by som zaspievať tú pieseň, ale nikto ju tu so sebou
We don't have
nemáte.
Sarvasuka Prabhu is not with us. Do you
Sarvasuka
play
Prabhu
harmonium?
tu není s nami.
Medium level.
You can follow or not?
Yes.
Why don't you give it a go? Because Dominic is great, but he can't follow others. And maybe there's someone else here who's expert on the harmonium.
Je tu niekto expert na harmóniu, kto by
We're
vedel
willing to
hrať?
stand. Nobody will admit that they're expert, but somebody
Nikto
can
nechce priznať,
say.
že je expert.
Well, the devotees here are all very humble.
Všetci oddaní tu sú veľmi pokorní.
Do you have it on your mobiles?
Máte to na mobiloch?
I may have a song. Where's my backpack? I may have a songbook in there.
Kde? A Markine Bhagavata Dharma?
Yeah, Markine Bhagavata.
Markine Bhagavata Dharma.
I can sing this every day and it never becomes dry.
Každý deň to spievame, nikdy to nie
Ever
je suché.
increases the, let's say, cultivation of this connection with Prabhupada
Kultivuje to spojenie s Prabhupádom
and ultimately Krishna.
a v konečnom dôsledku s Krišnom.
To approach the holy name with the right attitude is another thing.
Aby sme pristúpili k Svätému menu so správnym prístupom.
So
to je
the
ďalšia
acharyas
vec.
teach us how to do that.
Acharyovia nás učia, ako to spraviť.
How to develop the attitude which is pleasing to the holy name.
Mali by sme vyvinúť postoj, ktorý je potešujúci pre Sväté meno.
So you have it there. Everyone look on their mobiles. You might find it's called Markine Bhagavat Dharma.
Pozrite sa do mobilov, možno to nájdete. Markine Bhagavata Dharma.
I have it on my computer. Whoever's gone to the bag, if you can bring the computer as well, that would be even better. Both the book and the computer.
Zoberte aj notebook, aj celý bag.
And the computer, please, Jivananda, as well. Okay. I'll just read a little bit the translation. Is this?
Trochu prečítame z prekladu.
So Srila Prabhupada, when he arrived in Boston in 1960,
Keď Srila Prabhupada
Which year?
prišiel do Bostonu
65,
v 65.
and the boat that he was on was called
A na lodi, ktorá sa volala,
Boston Harbor.
the boat was not called the Boston Harbor.
loď sa nevolala prístav
It was
Bostonu.
the Boston Harbor he was in, but what was the boat called?
Ako sa volala loď?
Puri Duta?
Puriduta.
You can only think of your belly, huh?
Myslíte iba na svoj žalúdok, že?
Enthusiasm for belly saver, stomach saver.
Váš entuziasmus je pre...
So what was the name of the boat? The Jolly Duta? Not the Jolly? Not the Jelly?
Nie je to žele?
Jala. What does a Jala mean? What's
Čo znamená
Jala?
žela?
Jala. Who's Jala?
Water.
Huh?
Water.
Water. Duta
Duta.
means
Dúta?
the messenger. And it's
Poslíček.
amazing. It means the messenger crosses the ocean.
Znamená to poslíček prechádza cez oceán.
A perfect title, eh? So Prabhupada, when they arrived the next morning, he wrote this poem called Markine Bhagavata.
Prabhupada, keď ráno prišiel do Bostonu, tak napísal túto pieseň Markine
And this,
Bhagavata Dharma.
many of you were there in Yakachakra when we sang this a week or so
Veľa z
ago,
vás
a
bolo
few
na
days ago.
Yakachakre, keď sme to
Or
pred pár
somewhere.
dňami spievali.
And but it's constantly reminding ourselves of the root of the Bhakti Lata beast, the root of the creeper, how it can spread all over the world.
Stále nám to pripomína zdroj Bhaktilaty, tej rastlinky oddanej
This is one
služby,
of the
ako môžeme
secrets in this
rozšíriť
song.
po celom svete milosť.
There we go.
Wanna come?
Pardon?
Computer?
Computer, and there may be a songbook there also. Computer is definitely best because it's big and it's on PowerPoint. I can easily read it. So I'm going to give this back to. Okay, there might be a songbook some of you can share there. I can't quite reach this. It would be good to just. Whoops. Luckily, it's on PowerPoint, so it won't go off. So try to find it. It's worth hearing, I'll tell you. It's so
Skúste to
amazing.
nájsť. Oplatí sa to počuť. Je to úžasné.
It's at the beginning of the songbook, more or less.
Je to na
Almost
začiatku
at the beginning.
spevníka, väčšinou.
And on your mobile phones or whatever you have with you, or your pads or whatever you call
Na
it,
mobile alebo na tabletoch, alebo
Notebooks
čokoľvek, čo máte na notebooku.
different technological things which can be used in Krishna's service.
Technologické veci, ktoré môžeme použiť v službe Krišnovi.
Srila Prabhupada. There you go. So exciting.
To je vzrušujúce.
So that on September the 18th, 1965, Prabhupada compiled this poem.
Markine Bhagavata Dharma.
He was alone. No one in the world knew about it at
Bol
that
tam
time.
sám a nikto o tom nevedel v tom čase. Nikto.
In fact, many times it's happened. Do you know the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita as it is?
Viete, úvod do Bhagavad Gita, taká, aká je
Prabhupada's introduction?
Prabhupádov úvod.
That is actually a transcript of a recording Prabhupada did on his own in New York in 1960, beginning of 66, end of 65.
To je nahrávka, ktorú šiel
Nobody heard
v
it.
New Yorku v 65.
No
a
one.
66.
Only the
Nikto to
walls.
nepočul, iba steny.
But now the whole world is hearing it.
A teraz celý svet to počuje.
The same with this poem, which was
Podobne s
another
touto
gem
básňou,
which Prabhupada has given the world.
ktorú dal šiel Prabhupada svetu.
Anyway, thank you for being with us.
Ďakujeme, že ste tu s nami.
So, has anyone found it?
Niekto to našiel?
Ladies, some of you have it?
Dáme, niektoré to máte?
Okay, we'll give it a go, shall we?
Tak to
Enter into
skúsime.
the mood. Well, let me just, actually this one doesn't have the translation along with it.
Toto
I'm
nemá
going to try to find
preklad.
another one which has the translation.
Pokúsim sa nájsť druhé, čo má preklad.
No, I'll go with this one, okay.
This is in English and here is the translation.
Here we go. That'd be easier to read from the book at this point. Mrs. Prabhupada, he's talking to his Lord. He's not just talking to himself or somebody else. It's
The
my
Prabhupada
dear Lord,
Hovorí
Krishna.
Krišnovi priamo.
You were so kind to this useless soul. You were so kind to this useless soul. Have you got it in Slovakian there or not?
No, English.
You don't have this in Slovakian or Czech songbook? No.
Môj
You have
drahý
Czech
pán
songbooks, don't you?
Krishna.
You have Czech songbook?
Má to niekto v češtine, že by som to
We
mohla
have
prečítať?
songbooks
alebo
in Czech or
slovenčine?
not? Does it exist?
No to radšej nie.
Anyway, okay. But I do not know why you have brought me here.
Môj drahý pán Krišna, ty si tak milostivý na túto neužitočnú dušu,
Now
ale
you
neviem,
can-
prečo si ma sem priviedol.
You can do whatever you like with me.
Teraz so mnou môžeš robiť čokoľvek len
This
chceš.
is Mudo, Purdo. Completely surrender. Whatever you want to do with me, my Lord.
To je nálada úplného odovzdania. Čokoľvek chceš, môj drahý
And
pane.
imagine if we all had that mood.
Neviem si predstaviť, keby sme
How this
všetci mali
movement would spread.
takú náladu, ako by toto hnutie sa rozšírilo.
But I guess you have some business here.
A myslím, že tu máte nejaký biznis.
Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place?
Ale myslím, že tu máš nejaký biznis. Inak prečo by si ma
America.
priniesol na
Terrible
toto
place.
hrozné miesto? Amerika, hrozné miesto.
Yeah, put it there. Where are you going? Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion.
Väčšina populácie tu je prekrytá materiálnymi kvalitami nevedomosti a vášne.
Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva.
Absorbovaní v materiálnom živote, myslia si o sebe, že sú veľmi šťastní a spokojní a preto nemajú žiadnu chuť pre transcendentálnu správu od Vasudevu.
I do not know how they will be able to understand it.
Neviem, ako by mohli byť schopní to pochopiť.
You see, probably it wasn't like he came, I know what I'm doing, I have a formula, I'm going to make them all become devotees by this formula. No, I do not know how they will understand.
Nie je to tak, že by Prabhupada prišiel a povedal by, ja viem, ako ich spraviť oddaných, ja viem všetko, ako spraviť. Nie, on prišiel, že on nevie, ako to spraviť a bol odovzdaný Krišnovi.
But I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic.
Ale viem, že tvoja bezpríčinná milosť môže spraviť všetko možné, pretože si najexpertnejší mystik.
How will they understand the mellows of devotional service, O Lord? I'm simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message.
Ako môžu pochopiť sladkosť oddanej služby? Ó, Pane, ja sa iba modlím pre tvoju milosť, aby som ich mohol presvedčiť o tvojej správe.
Sometimes we think, I can't do that.
Niekedy si myslíme, ja to dokážem spraviť.
And we can't do that.
Ale my to nemôžeme spraviť.
It's by the mercy of Krishna everything becomes possible.
Je to milosťou Krišnu, že všetko je možné.
Prabhupada's teaching that here.
Prabhupada nás to učí.
All living entities have come under the control of the illusory energy by your will, and therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion.
Všetky živé bytosti sú pod kontrolou tvojej iluzórnej energie, tvojou voľou a preto, ak chceš, tak tvojou voľou môžu byť aj oslobodení od pazúrov ilúzie.
The grip of illusion or under the control of illusion. I wish that you may deliver them.
Prajem si, aby si ich oslobodil.
Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message.
Preto, ak túžiš po ich oslobodení, tak iba vtedy budú môcť pochopiť tvoju správu.
What does this mean? Is it Krishna, by his will, he's just flown us into this material world?
Čo to znamená? Krišna svojou volou nás sem dal do tohto hmotného sveta?
No, it's only if Krishna wills we can come into this world, but it's our desire, you could say, to try to separate ourselves from Krishna.
Nie, je to naša túžba, že my sme chceli sa oddeliť od Krišnu.
We can't fulfill that desire. Only if Krishna wills is it possible to fulfill that
My
desire.
nevieme naplniť tú túžbu, iba Krišna, keď chce, tak ho naplní.
The words of Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation, and if a sober person repeatedly receives it with submissive oral reception, then he will be able to understand your message.
Slova Srimad Bhagavata sú tvojou inkarnáciou a ak osoba, ktorá je sober, znešená osoba, opakovane recituje s pokorne, tak potom bude schopná pochopiť tvoju správu.
Why this message of Bhagavatam is so important is the understanding of that message, which will enable one, you could say, to become eligible to go back to Godhead, freed from the illusions.
Srimad Bhagavatamu. Sorry, I didn't get it.
Neither did I. One day maybe we'll get it.
Sorry.
It's the understanding, the emphasis here is the understanding of the message of Bhagavatam.
Je pochopenie správy Srimad Bhagavatamu.
And when we genuinely, by submissive oral reception, one can understand that message.
Keď úprimne, pokorne budeme načúvať, tak budeme schopní pochopiť tú správu.
And that is what will free us from the illusion and propel us back to Godhead.
To nás oslobodí od ilúzie, aby sme mohli ísť
I'm
späť
going
k
to
Bohu.
read on now, number 10. The whole process of this change of heart is then described, but I won't read that. I'm going to number 10 now. I don't know if it's numbered on yours. he will become liberated from the influence of the modes of ignorance and passion.
On bude oslobodený z vplyvu kvalít nevedomosti a vášne.
And thus all inauspicious things accumulated in the core of the heart will disappear.
A potom všetky nepriaznivé veci akumulované v jadre srdca zmiznú.
How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness?
Ako ich spravím, aby pochopili tú správu Krishna vedomia?
I'm very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen.
Som veľmi nešťastný, nekvalifikovaný a najpokleslejší.
Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them.
Takže hľadám tvoju benediction? Požehnanie, aby som ich mohol presvedčiť.
For I am powerless to do so on my own.
Pretože nemám schopnosť to urobiť sám.
Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you.
Tak či tak, ó Pane, priniesol si ma sem, aby som o tebe rozprával.
Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like.
Teraz, môj Pane, je to na tebe, aby si ma spravil úspechom alebo neúspechom.
O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message.
O duchovný učiteľ všetkých svetov, ja viem iba jednoducho opakovať tvoju správu.
So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding.
Takže keď chceš, tak môžeš spraviť moju silu toho rozprávania vhodné, aby to pochopili.
Only by your mercy will my words become pure.
Iba tvojou bezpríčinnou milosťou budú moje slova čisté.
I'm sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel engladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life.
Som si istý, že keď táto transcendentálna správa prejde cez ich srdcia, tak určite sa budú cítiť šťastní a potom budú oslobodení zo všetkých nešťastných podmienok života.
Oh Lord, I'm just like a puppet in your hands.
Ó Pane, ja som iba nástroj v tvojich rukách.
So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance. Make me dance, O Lord. Make me dance as you like.
Takže keď si ma sem priniesol tancovať, tak ma roztancuj ma, ó Pane, roztancuj ma ako len chceš.
I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna.
Nemám žiadnu oddanosť a nemám ani žiadne poznanie, ale mám silnú vieru vo sväté meno Krišnu.
I've been designated as Bhaktivedanta, and now if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta.
Bol som označený ako Bhaktivedanta a teraz, keď chceš, tak môžeš naplniť skutočný význam Bhaktivedanta.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This is to be, you could say, the real meaning of being one with God, that we have no desire other than to please Him. We make our will one with His will.
To je skutočný význam lásky k Bohu, keď nemáme inú túžbu, ako byť zajedno s ním.
Okay, well, if you're I'm sorry to hold everyone up, I'm going crazy.
Prepáčte, že vás všetkých zdržiavam, ale
It's all your fault. You said we never get tired. I was very tired when we arrived.
Je to vaša vina. Povedal si, že nikdy nebudeme unavení a ja som bol unavený, keď sme prišli.
Paro kripa koile Krishna adame prati Paro kripa koile Krishna adame prati goes down at the end there. Kilagia nile 8 Kilagia nile ta koro ebe gati Kilagia nile ta koro ebe gati Hache kichu Kajatava Heyanumane Achekichu Kajatava Heyanumane Nahe kino anibe Eugrastane Nahe kino anibe Eugrastane Rajastamo Kuniera Sabai Achana Rajastamo Kuniera Sabai Achana Vasudeva Katauruchi Nahe se prasana Vasudeva Katauruchi Nahe se prasana Tabe jadi taba kripa Hoy hoy tuki Tabe jadi taba kripa Hoy hoy tuki Sakai Sambhava hoy Tumi se kotuki Sambhava hoy Tumi se kotuki Kibave Puja hetara Puje se rasa Kipave puja hetara Puje se rasa Eta kripa Ora Prabhu Korini Javasha Eta Kripa Ora Prabhu Korini Javasha Tomahara Ichaya Sabha Hoy Maya Vasa Tomara Ichaya Sabha Hoy Maya Vasa Tomara Ichaya Nasha Maya Rasha Tomara Ichaya Nasha Maya Rasha Avahecha Ahejare Tadere Uda Avahecha Ahejare Tadere Uda Ujire Neshae Tabe Kata se toma Ujibe Nishae tabe Kata se toma Bhagavate Kata se Bhagavata Hiraya Kune Jadi Kahane Baba Hiraya Kune Jadi Kahane Baba Shinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Shinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vedyantaksto Hiya Bhadrani Vedanuti Suritatam Vedyantaksto Hiya Bhadrani Vedanoti Suritatam Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Tathāja Tamo Bhava Kamolo Bharayasya Tathāja Tamo Bhava Kamolo Bharayasya Teta Anavidam Stitam Sate Prasidati Stitam Sate Prasidati Evam Pratana Manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Evam Pratana Manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Oh Vidyate Dayagante Vidyante Sava Sankayaha Vidyante Dayagante Vidyante Sava Sankayaha Vidyante Satyakarmani Krishna Evatmani Share Satyakarmani Krishna Evatmani Share Rajastamo Hate Tabe Paibe Nishar
Rajastamo Hadetabe
Paibe Nishar Vinaya Abhadra Sate Kuchibe taha Hidayat abadra sate Kuchipe taha Kikone puja bokata Aroshe tahi Kikone puja bokata Aroshe tahi Kudarame dinahina Kono shakti nahi Kudame dinahina Kono shakti nahi Atacha Eno Prabhu Kata Polivare Atacha Eno Prabhu Kata Polivare Ye Toma Echa Prabhu Koro he bare Ye toma icha Koro he bare Akila Jagat Guru Vachana se amar Jagat Guru Vachana Alankita Kariba Amata Toma Alankita Kariba Amata Toma Atava kripa elemo Kata surabe Atava kripa elemo Kata surabe Dunia sabalo soka Duka je kuchibe Dunia sabalo soka Duka je kuchibe Oh aniyacho jadi Prabhu हमारे नाचाते हरियाचो
Jadi Prabhu
Nachayo, nachayo Prabhu Nachayo semate Nachayo, nachayo Prabhu Nachayo semate Kashtera putale jata Nachayo semate Kashtera putale jata Nachayo semate Bhakti nai veda nai Name kudaro Bhakti nai veda nai Name kudaro Bhakti Vedanta Namete Satakara 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Kripa Kaile Krishna Padame Pati
Bara
Kripa Kaile Krishna Adame Pati
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya
Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada ki jai. Oh, Premanandi. Haribo. Jai. Hare Krishna. Anyway, Haribo. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne, Hare Krishna.
Drahí oddaní Hare Krishna, teraz bude lahodná taká už večerná hostina a ste vítaní a samozrejme, jak som Narada Deši čítal, tak láska není iba o braní, ale aj o dávaní výmena, takže ste môžete prísť na hostinu a na Maharaja a